Hello, welcome to ATI 42 of Fire Applied Logistics. One of the major logistics system components is warehousing or distribution centers. There are more than 400,000 warehouses in the United States. Roughly 20,000 of those warehouses have a building area that exceeds 100,000 square feet. There are almost 1.2 million people in the workforce of warehousing with estimated job growth of 1.4%. The GDP from transport in the United States is around 550 billion US dollars. So it's important to understand how warehousing and distribution works and to compare different distribution strategies and identify some of the methods, techniques, and tools used in warehousing. In addition, it's important to identify and implement the process of selecting a warehouse location and design the layout. Over the next few modules, we are going to address all these issues related to warehousing, but first we will go over the concept of distribution and distribution centers. In most cases, products will be stored before distribution to retailers and end users. The distribution is the act of delivering goods and services from producers to customers. We can also define physical distribution as the broad range of activities aimed to efficiently move the finished goods from the end of the production to the end user. Uh, Storage warehouses holds goods for moderate to long periods to balance supply and demand for producers and purchasers or customers, while a distribution warehouse assembles and distributes goods, keeping them moving as much as possible. In some centers, in some distribution centers, they assemble the device or the appliance or the product, and then they redistribute the product. With the advancement in technology and to minimize cost and improve customer service, lots of companies automated their warehouse facilities. Another two factors that will be discussed in later sessions are the warehouse location and warehouse layout design. Those two factors have a huge impact on material handling and delivery costs. In addition, warehouse location affects customer service. Again, those two factors will be addressed in detail in later sessions, later modules. Items can be directly shipped from the supplier or manufacturer to the retail store or end customer. Or we can use intermediate inventory storage points, typically warehouses or distribution centers. Each method has its own advantages and disadvantages. The direct shipment distribution strategy reduces the lead time. Lead time is a term or a concept that you will hear frequently in logistics, which is the time between the initiation and completion of a production process. For example, the initiation of an order to the completion of delivering that order. By using direct shipment, retailers avoid the expenses of operating a distribution center. At the same time, the direct shipment will increase manufacturing and distributor transportation costs. In addition, the financial risk will affect one partner of the chain and will not be divided among a group of partners. Still, this strategy can be used in the following scenarios. For example, a retail store requires fully loaded trucks, which is often mandated by powerful retailers such as Walmart and Target. Or if the lead time is critical and there is no time to send it to a distribution center, which applies to perishable items that has certain expiration date. Or if the manufacturer has no choice but to use direct shipment. Organizations could use intermediate inventory storage points strategy. With an intermediate point, companies can select one of the following strategies. The company can select to go with the traditional warehousing strategy, where distribution centers and warehouses hold stock inventory. The warehouse or distribution center will provide their downstream customers with inventory as needed. And there is the second strategy, which is called cross-docking strategy, where warehouses and distribution centers serve as transfer points for inventory. No inventory is held at these transfer points, and we'll talk about that later on. And then we have centralized pooling and transshipment strategies, which may be useful when there is a large variety of different products. With intermediate distribution centers and warehousing, inventory management and risk pooling are key factors. Other factors that will be considered are centralized versus decentralized distribution centers, and central regional facilities versus local facilities. Comparing centralized and decentralized approaches, you can see in the decentralized distribution center or warehouse, each facility identifies its own or its most effective strategy without considering the impact on the other facilities in the supply chain. In this situation, any improvement or optimization will be on the local level. While in the centralized location approach, decisions are made at a central location for the entire supply network. The main objective is to minimize the total cost of the system subject to satisfying some service level requirements. The centralized approach control leads to global optimization and allows the use of coordinated strategies between the partners. If the system cannot be centralized, it will be helpful to form a partnership to take advantage of the centralized system. Comparing centralized facilities versus local facilities, in a centralized approach, centralized facilities employ fewer warehouses and distribution centers, which are located further from customers. Centralized locations have lower safety stock, which is the level of extra stock that's maintained to mitigate risk of stock outs caused by uncertainties in the supply chain demand. And this is another term that you will hear you will see it a lot in logistics, and it will be addressed in details or in detail later. Also, centralized location have lower overhead cost than having many local facilities. And that makes sense, because if you have many facilities, then you need workforce in each one, you need a manager for each one, you need utilities and other associated costs that will be with those that will come with those facilities. With the centralized locations, the organization can use economics of scale, and that is another term that you will hear in logistics, which is the ability to buy in bulk to lower the cost per item. The lead time will be more in a centralized location than local facilities. With centralized locations, utilization of risk pooling is better, and the risk can be divided on the partners. The shipping times are better with local decentralized facilities. The transportation costs between production facilities and warehouses will be higher with local facilities, while the transportation cost from warehouses to retailers lesser with local warehouses. The logistics of running multiple distribution centers or warehouses for products can become a nightmare. Creating a central distribution center or a centralized distribution center will overcome that nightmare. A centralized distribution center can be accessible, which means have easy access to products. Shipping will be more efficient. It will be easy to or easier to identify products in stock, products selling the most, and easy to identify problems or bottlenecks in the system. In addition, money will be saved using one center instead of multiple centers, as we said before, where we have multiple facilities, multiple resources needed, overhead, lots of overhead will be associated with these facilities. Some organizations use both, centralized for some products while local for other products. It's not an either or decision. It is the decision that will make it more efficient and provide better customer service. There are varying degrees of centralization and localization due to the varying levels of advantages and disadvantages. So you can use whatever strategy fits your company, and you can mix between the different strategies. Another warehousing or distribution center approach that was mentioned is the cross-docking approach, which is used by Walmart. In this approach, warehouses function as inventory coordination or coordinating point rather than as inventory storage point. Goods arriving at warehouses from the manufacturer are transferred to vehicles serving the retailers and delivered to the retailers as rapidly as possible. You can see in this photo or figure that companies come from with products from the manufacturer. So this is the inbound, and on the other side you can see that the retailer, or the trucks for the retailer, will start collecting these items, the different items in the truck, and then that will be sent to the retailing store, which means that goods spend very little time in storage at the warehouse, usually less even than 12 hours. The short amount of storage time limits inventory costs and decreases lead time. So it's less time and less cost associated with that. And for that we have lead time less that decreased lead time to arrive to the retail store. But cross-docking approach requires a significant startup investment and are very difficult to manage. The supply chain partners must be linked with advanced information systems for effective coordination. For the approach to be successful, the transportation system should be fast and responsive. The forecasts are critical in these situations, and information should be shared. Whatever you know on demand, you have to share it with your partners. This approach is effective only for large distribution systems where companies have sufficient volume and sufficient demand, allowing truckloads quantities. And that's why it's working with Walmart, maybe will not work with other companies. As example of inventory pooling, General Motors has 1,500 Cadillacs parked at a regional distribution center in Orlando waiting to be delivered to dealers and can be delivered within 24 hours. General Motors made these cars available between or because they found that 10% to 11% of sales were lost because a car was not available. Having the centralized location test program expected to improve customer service and boost sales of Cadillac by 10%. A centralized system provides a higher service level and higher sales. In a push system, which is everybody was using before, push system where you push to the market, dealers had to order before demand is realized. So you are ordering, you have the item, and you push it to the market, you push it to the customer. While in a push-pull supply chain, dealers pull from regional distribution center. So we have everything in the distribution center, and we can pull for customers a different or variety of items that's available for them. This implies that end customers will see better customer service and they will have more cars or more options to choose from. Having a centralized location does not mean total number of cars ordered by dealers will not necessarily increase, even as customer service increases. It means that dealers have access to more inventory and potentially they can sell more. In addition, that will level out the playing field between dealers, where smaller dealers now they have access to the same inventory as large dealers in the centralized location. If the customer arrives at a dealer and does not find the item, they can switch to another dealer, which helps the manufacturer sell more products, but it will not help that dealer. So again, it works for both the dealer and the manufacturer, but it doesn't work all the time with all dealers, and that's why it's available with the centralized location. Cards and options will be available for everyone. In a decentralized system, if a dealer knows that its competitor don't keep enough inventory, the dealer will raise the inventory level to satisfy its own demand and to cover demand of customers approaching dealers with limited inventory. If the other dealers don't have it, you need to have it, and that's why dealers will start stacking on inventory to make sure that they have both demand for them and demand for other dealers or from other dealers that didn't have or has limited inventory. If a dealer knows that its competitors has significant inventory, the dealer will reduce their inventory level because most likely they will not be able to capture or compete with capture the other customers from the dealer or compete with those dealers. Dealer's strategy depends on its competitor's strategy, which they might or might not know. To maximize coverage of the marketplace and to increase the cost effectiveness of the company's marketing effort, the company can use dual or multiple distribution approaches. Most retail stores now they are using stores, catalogs, and online retail services. So you can see that Nordstrom or Macy's or other retail companies, they're using more than one channel to distribute their product. To improve customer service and increase competition, companies use what has been called as reverse channels. Those channels are designed to return goods to their producer. These channels gained increased importance with the rising prices for raw material, increasing availability of the recycling facilities, and the passage of additional anti-pollution conservation laws. In addition, these channels are used for recalls and repairs. With the current nature of the supply chain and the market, competition distribution became global, which increased the complexity and cost of distribution. Companies are dealing with distances, exchange rate, regulations, rules in other countries, different languages, different cultures, political stability in the other country, the security, and foreign third parties that should be involved in the distribution like intermediaries. So all these factors are involved in defining the distribution. Distribution decisions should be made on the supply chain level and between different partners. Maybe some kind of either partnership or contract or agreement will be reached between the partners, especially if they are in different countries. In the next session, we are going to continue addressing the distribution, and we are going to address distribution intensity and selecting the proper strategy that fits your organization. That will be all for this session. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you and have a great day.